is higher than his.
Oh.
And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the Blue Wave
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
to 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters. Monday, December 9th. I'm Dean Obeidallah. I'm partly rested, partly tan, and ready for the fight. We got so much to cover. I'm still your needy MBFF. I was happy some people emailed me over during the vacation. I did get back to you because I had more time to relax. I tweeted a lot. I hope you missed me. I want to thank Joe Sudbay for doing a great job filling in last week. I truly appreciate him being here. A lot to cover today, as you might imagine. Two big stories. A couple of quick things. First, and I might remind people every day because the 2020 Democrats are not doing this. So here's a daily reminder, and I literally might do it at least weekly, if not daily. Daily reminder right now, as we sit here in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, Donald Trump's administration is working to end you and your family's coverage for pre-existing medical conditions. They want to make it so if you get sick, insurance companies can drop you. They want to put caps back on your insurance benefits each year or lifetime policy. They want to be able to charge women more than they charge men. And what do I mean? Because they're arguing to end the ACA right now, Donald Trump. And those are just a small part of all the benefits of the ACA. And here's the worst part. There's no backup plan. He's got no plan. So if Trump gets his way, and I wish the Democrats would talk about this every day, 2020 Democrats, that we are the party of healthcare because we gave you the ACA. We were the ones who came up with Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. Specifically with the ACA, we are the ones that ensured no insurance company could drop you for getting sick. They could not raise your rates for getting sick. They cannot deny coverage because you had a pre-existing condition, nor charge you more for that. And Trump is arguing to end all of that right now. So I don't care if you're a Trump supporter or not. That's the truth. That's not fake news. Fake news is Trump lying and saying things like, I'm going to give you the best health care. Well, you didn't do it when you had control of the House and the Senate. And what you're trying to do is end it. So I hope we don't get to that point. I hope the Fifth Circuit rejects it, but they could say yes and affirm the trial court, which struck down the ACA as unconstitutional. So I really think we're going to talk about that, maybe a reminder daily or at least weekly. And I want people to think about that and communicate that to your friends who might not be sure about politics, which party they like, what candidate they like. Remember, Trump is trying to end you and your family's coverage for pre-existing medical conditions. It's that simple, period. Two big stories. As we know, the Inspector General report came out today on the origins of the investigation by the FBI into Donald Trump and Russia conspiracy. And two, we had another impeachment hearing. I want to touch a little bit on the IG report. Tomorrow we'll talk about it in much more detail. And Danny Stavales came out. It's 400 pages. I went through the executive summary. I'll read some more of it tomorrow. To remind everyone, Donald Trump has been saying for years that the entire investigation by the FBI into his campaign, potential conspiracy with the Russians, was a hoax. And he said exposing it become one of the crowning achievements of his presidency. In fact, here is Trump talking about what we can expect when the report comes out. And it's treason and jail time. Clip number one.
And what we were playing out until just recently was the insurance policy. They wanted to do a subversion. It was treason. It was really treason. If the Republican Party had done this to the Democrats, if we had done this to President Obama, you'd have 100 people in jail right now, and it would be treason. It would be considered treason, and they'd be in jail for the rest of their lives.
And Trump tweeted numerous times calling the FBI treasonous, attacking our intelligence agencies for doing their work. Well, today, Inspector General Michael Horowitz, who is part of the DOJ, issued his 434-page report. I'll give you a little summary of it. Again, tomorrow I'll talk about more detail. The bottom line for this report is that the FBI had, quote, an authorized purpose in initiating its investigation known as Crossfire Hurricane, that was its name, into the Trump campaign. And, quote, we concluded that the investigation was in compliance with Department FBI policies, and we did not find documentary or testimonial evidence that political bias or improper motivation influenced this decision. So the bottom line is, I'll give you a little bit more of this report. Bottom line, takeaway, This was not a political witch hunt. This was not a political campaign against Donald Trump. It was founded on evidence. That's what triggered it. They followed FBI rules and policies to get to where they did the full report, and then Mueller got involved and picked up from there. A couple of quick things about this investigation. They interviewed over 170 witnesses, over more than 100 witnesses, 170 interviews. They went through countless documents. And they said here, quote, the decision to open an FBI investigation on July 31st, 2016. And that's the day it was open. And it's not a coincidence. A few days before that, that's when Trump was on national TV saying, Russia, can you, if you're listening. So they're getting some information that Russia's helping Trump. And then Trump goes on national TV and says, Russia, are you listening? So then a few days later, they open this investigation. I'll read again from it. The decision to open an FBI investigation on July 31st, 2016, known as Crossfire Hurricane, and 4 individual cases on current and former members of the Trump campaign, George Papadopoulos, Carter Page, Paul Manafort, and Michael Flynn. And it talks about that's what their focus, the very first focus was. Was that above board or was it based on bias? And they said, nope, it was based not in proper purpose. The investigation began, and they spell out very clearly what it was begun. What was the reason for this entire investigation was a tip from an FFG, which is a friendly foreign government, that reported to them in May 2016 that the Trump campaign foreign policy advisor, George Papadopoulos, suggested the Trump team had received some kind of information from Russia that could assist in the campaign and was damaging to Hillary Clinton. So that's George Papadopoulos. If you remember him, they called him Coffee Boy. He was actually a foreign policy advisor out there. He was at a bar drinking. An Australian diplomat heard this, heard Papadopoulos bragging about everything going on. This is in May. July 31st, they opened up the investigation based on that. The report also states point blank, Christopher Steele, the Steele dossier, the former British intelligence official, quote, Steele's report played no role in the Crossfire Hurricane opening, close quote, period. Steele dossier was not the basis of this. We all knew that. That was reported over and over. Now the IG says it. So again, we conclude the investigation was in compliance with Department and FBI policies. We did not find any evidence that political bias or improper motivation influenced this decision. The reality is, even before we heard any response from Bill Barr or Trump, I tweeted, it doesn't matter what this report says because facts don't matter to Trump. Facts don't matter to his minions. It's all about keeping an authoritarian in power. So they will come out and they will lie. And they did that. Donald Trump said after this report, and I just read you the headlines, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. The IG did find certain errors, mistakes in some applications. They said there was no intentional misconduct. That was specifically no political bias. There were mistakes made. Trump says this is far worse than what I ever thought possible about this. That's literally a lie. So tonight Fox News will play that and going, Donald Trump said the IG report was far worse than I ever thought possible. That's just not true. And then Bill Barr. Bill Barr put out a statement a short time after the report was released saying the FBI launched an intrusive investigation of a U.S. presidential candidate on the thinnest of suspicions that, in my view, were insufficient to justify the steps taken, close quotes. This is the same Bill Barr who lied to America and said the Robert Mueller report exonerated Donald Trump. Bill Barr is the perfect attorney general for Trump. Bill Barr is the perfect AG for Trump because both are liars who don't care about the U.S. Constitution. They are only focused on keeping Republican power. Now, Bill Barr is about Republican power because he was a cover-up AG for George Bush, the father. Trump cares about personal power. He doesn't care about political power. He's not a Republican. Trump is just Trump. He transcends politics like authoritarians do. He's neither a Republican nor a Democrat. At some point, he might give up the GOP name. I wouldn't be surprised. Just try to make him emperor or some kind of Holy Roman Emperor of some sort there. So that's what we found out there. IG report will go into much more detail tomorrow. I'm happy to answer if people want to talk about it during this first hour. That's fine. Bottom line, the report was not, the opening of the investigation was very clear. It was based on evidence, objective evidence, not political bias. And I will say this very clearly. If They found in this investigation, FBI agents for political bias were investigating a political campaign. That would be wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Because it could easily happen the other way. Do you think Trump would not use the FBI to investigate Democrats? I mean, right now you've got Trump asking the Ukrainian leader to investigate Democrats. Of course he would use the FBI. That's what Richard Nixon did. Richard Nixon used the FBI and the CIA and the IRS to investigate his political opponents. All three. So yes, it would be horribly wrong. And if Michael Horowitz came back with the IG and said, we found credible evidence that political bias went into opening this campaign, this investigation, I would be there saying that's absolutely wrong and people should be punished. He didn't find that. That's the reality. We have to be no double standard on certain issues. No president can use the apparatus of government to in any way investigate their political opponents to help their reelection or election. The same way we cannot sit by idly when a president like Trump calls up a foreign leader and asks for personal help in a 2020 campaign. And what that would do is help Trump at the same time undermine our ability to elect our own president, because it's not Americans making decisions. It's foreign. Trump is again inviting foreign interference into our election to help him. So let's talk about today. We had the hearing today. I want to play some clips. Today was really lawyers, literally lawyers. I mean, during not last week when I was away, you had 4 law professors. Okay, 3 law professors and Jonathan Turley, who was there. Yes, he's a law professor, but folks, I was listening to a lot of it on my vacation. He sounded much more like an attorney hired to represent a client than an expert witness trying to give opinions that would inform Americans. And that was really their job, but that's not Jonathan Turley's. Today you had primarily 2 lawyers testify. Stephen Castor, the Republican counsel from House Intel Committee, you all remember him, and Daniel Goldman for the Democrats, and a little bit from Democratic lawyer for the House Judiciary Committee, Barry Burke. And why are they doing this? Like, why is this? What's this going on? None of this is fact witnesses. We're not going to learn anything new. They're not here to learn anything new. They're not here to teach us anything new on the facts. What they're here, both sides, is making their case from a legal / to be honest, political point of view. And in the case of Daniel Goldman, he's laying it out as a former federal prosecutor exactly what, in his view, Donald Trump has done and why it's impeachable and why the American public should be on board. Stephen Castor, on the other hand, is fighting for the Republicans and is not addressing the facts, although here and there he is, I'm going to be fair. But overall, it's a lot of, this isn't that bad, or we can't overturn an election for this kind of stuff. That's for the American people to decide. Should we overturn an election or not? He's doing his best to make that argument. And once this is done, and as of now, there's not even a hint that they're going to have any more fact witnesses in Judiciary Committee on other issues. And I really wish they would. We've talked about this on the show before I went on vacation. The idea of the articles of impeachment being broader than just about Ukraine. And I could not agree with that more. And tonight we have Congressman Mark Pocan on in a little while at the top of the hour. I'm going to ask him about that very issue. But I want to play some clips that I think give you a good sample of what happened today. It's actually still going on now. This is going on far too long, today's hearings, because, it's lawyers talking about their summary of the House Intel Committee. We all saw that. This should have been streamlined today because it's the kind of thing where people watch and go, oh, this is boring. I'm not going to watch anymore. And I know that's not the test, but this is the real world we live in. Make this a tighter hearing. More people will watch from beginning to end, I could hope. I want to play a clip here, though. This, to me, sums up why we're doing impeachment. This is Barry Burke. He's the Democrats' lawyer on the House Judiciary Committee. And he talked about why we had to have impeachment. And to me, this transcends everything. This is neither Democrat nor Republican. This is about what message you want to send to Trump and future presidents. What's acceptable? What kind of nation do we want to be going forward? And this is, in a short clip, such a compelling argument for why we had to do impeachment. Here's clip number 3, please. We'll go to.
Well, again, first, all the constitutional experts who testified recognized that obstructing an investigation is an impeachable offense. But here, the offense we're talking about that's being interfered or obstructed with is interfering with this very election that's coming up. And I submit to you, given what happened with the Department of Justice investigation, given what's happening here, if in fact President Trump can get away with what he did again, our imagination is the only limit to what President Trump may do next or what a future president may do next. to try to abuse his or her power to serve his own personal interest over the nation's interest.
And that is so well put. The only limit to Trump's potential for abuse and misconduct is our imagination. And I don't think we can imagine what he can do, because I've said this before, because people say, what do you think he's going to do? And I always tell you, I don't know, because I'm not a psychopath. I'm being objective. None of us are sociopaths, I hope. We know the difference between right and wrong. We're not just motivated by ourselves. We have compassion for others. Those are the elements of a sociopath. That's what Donald Trump is. And I say that not pejoratively. I say that I think as objective as a diagnosis that I can get. And as such, I don't know what he'll do. Because if you would have said to me a few months ago, the day after Robert Mueller testifies, Donald Trump will get on the phone and ask the president of the Ukraine to interfere in our 2020 election to help Donald Trump, I would have said, that's insane. He just got away with Russia. Who would do that? A sociopath would do that. And that's what Trump is. So I can't, it scares me. We need we need the political version of Hannibal Lecter. I've said this. We sit down and talk to him. Like, what's Trump going to do next? He's like, he's going to eat Nancy Pelosi's liver. Like, oh, I should have saw that coming. And he's going to live tweet doing it. #tasty while biting Nancy. Nothing's beyond him. So let's play some other clips here. I want to play Daniel Goleman's a former federal prosecutor. You may have known him in the past as an MSNBC contributor. Did a great job laying the case out. I want to play some of his testimony. I'm not going to play any of the garbage of Matt Gaetz or Doug Collins fighting with Chairman Nadler. That's what they did it for. They did it for clips on Fox News, not to help this country. And there's a reason why Matt Gaetz is a tool is trending on Twitter, because he deserves it. Here's Daniel Goleman talking about the idea of what is going on in the big picture. That Donald Trump, and he bluntly says this, is a clear and present danger to this country. And here's we'll jump to clip number 4, please.
President Trump's persistent and continuing effort to coerce a foreign country to help him cheat to win an election is a clear and present danger to our free and fair elections and to our national security. The overwhelming evidence of this scheme is described in detail in a nearly 300-page document entitled the Trump-Ukraine Impeachment Inquiry Report, formally transmitted from the House Permanent Selecting Committee on Intelligence to this committee a few days ago. The report relies on testimony from numerous current and former government officials, the vast majority of whom are nonpartisan career professionals responsible for keeping our nation safe and promoting American values around the globe. The evidence from these witnesses cannot seriously be disputed. The president placed his personal interests above the nation's interests in order to help his own re-election efforts.
And that last line, to me, is what the Democrats should sum up over and over. Donald Trump put his personal interests above the nation's interest to help win re-election. And that sums up everything that Trump's about. It's about Trump. It's always about Trump. In this case, it was Trump over the United States of America. And what I think that's so important that Goleman is doing there, he is matching up the fact pattern, what happened with the law professors last week. In fact, on Saturday, the House Judiciary Committee released a 55-page report, which you can read online if you'd like. It's a good report. It does not make attacks on Trump specifically. It talks about the history of impeachment in our country. And what are the bases for impeachment? What is an impeachable offense? What is bribery under our Constitution and the setting of the framers? What's high crimes and misdemeanors? And a couple of quick things from there is the idea that a president or a public official would put their personal interest over the interest of the United States of America that hurts our national interest. And that's the very definition of one of the impeachable offenses. In fact, they talk about here in this report that was released on Saturday about bribery. Quote, impeachable bribery occurs when the president offers, solicits, or accepts something of personal value to influence his own official actions, close quotes. So bribery simply, as they write in this report, and this is what the framers intended, was that if a president tries to get something of personal value, but uses official actions to do it, be it, and they didn't put this in there, but be it a meeting at the White House or being it withholding military aid in return for an investigation to help his 2020 campaign. Right there. They also talked about here, quote, the framers also anticipated impeachment if a president placed his own interest in retaining power above the national interest in free and fair elections, close quote. And again, keep this in mind. Trump with Russia, are you listening? Trump's son meeting with Russians at Trump Tower. Donald Trump coordinating the release of some of their messaging to tied up with the WikiLeaks releases, which was all stolen data by Russia. And again, speaking to the Ukraine to help them, the same thing. It was about undermining our free and fair election. It's not letting Americans make the decision on our own. It's trying to get foreign powers involved in this election. And then Goldman went after another issue. And I think this is so important. This just destroys, I mean this objectively, the idea about corruption, and Trump was about fighting corruption. Because the Republican lawyer, Castor, said Trump was investigating corruption. That's what his whole thing was about. And Goldman puts it very clear here. Trump was not, he didn't care about an investigation. All he wanted was an announcement of an investigation to Joe Biden. And why is this difference meaningful? If he really wanted an investigation into corruption, that's one thing. You can have a discussion. Is he really about fighting corruption? But when you only want an announcement, what that says is you just want a political show. You want to be able to tell Americans over and over and over again, the Ukraine's investigating Joe Biden. Look at that. They announce it. So let's hear Daniel Goldman on that point, clip number 5.
Now, according to Ambassador Sondland, and this is very important, President Trump did not require that Ukraine actually conduct the investigations as a prerequisite for the White House meeting. Instead, the Ukrainian government needed only to publicly announce the investigations. It is clear that the goal was not the investigations themselves or not any corruption that those investigations might have entailed, but the political benefit that President Trump would enjoy from an announcement of investigations into his 2020 political rival, and against a unanimous assessment that showed that he received foreign support in the 2016 election.
So it's about a political benefit to himself. And if it was about corruption, and this is a point I've made before, I try to make it on Twitter, I post it on Facebook all the time, I believe it's common sense. If Donald Trump truly was concerned about Joe Biden's actions in 2016, in having the prosecutor fired, if that was really the goal, just assume for a second, objectively speaking, that's his real focus. He is really concerned about that corruption in 2016. He views it as corruption. Then you would think in 2017, he would ask the Ukrainians about that when we gave the Ukraine over $400 million, but he didn't. Then you say, well, at least in 2018, he'd ask about it because it's so important, right? It is so important to get to the bottom of Joe Biden's conduct in 2016. You would ask about it in 2018, right? Because we gave $300 million to the Ukraine in 2018. He didn't ask about it. Why wait? Why did Trump wait until July 2019 to ask about the Bidens? Simple. Joe Biden was not running for president until April of 2019. This is common sense. You don't need a law degree. All you need is common sense. That's why he did it. We all know that. So, and let's continue on. Daniel Goldman here, and I think this is great. Again, I love this. These are short bites from Daniel Goldman, utterly decimating the Republican argument. Here's the Republican argument he touches on where Republicans go, well, Trump ultimately released the aid, so no harm, no foul. They got their aid. He held it up 2 months. He didn't tell anyone why. But it's okay and he released it because the suggestion is he released it because he came around to there were some anti-corruption enactments in the Ukraine. Here's Daniel Goldman destroying that. Clip number 6, please.
By early September, the president's scheme was unraveling. On September 9th, the Intelligence Oversight and Foreign Affairs Committees announced an investigation into President Trump and Mr. Giuliani's efforts in Ukraine. And later that same day, the Intelligence Committee learned that a whistleblower had filed a complaint nearly a month earlier related to some unknown issue, but which the president and the White House knew was related to Ukraine and had been circulating among them for some time. And then 2 days later, on September 11th, in the face of growing public and congressional scrutiny, President Trump lifted the hold on security assistance to Ukraine. As with the implementation of the hold, no reason was provided. Put simply, President Trump got caught, so he released the aid.
That's why he got caught. There's no disputing in late August he got a briefing on the whistleblower complaint. In that complaint, it talks about Donald Trump having a phone call with the Ukrainians and the idea of playing games with the aid and withholding aid to help his 2020 campaign and asking for help from Ukraine. Trump had no choice. If Trump was withholding this aid for corruption, an investigation, he would have easily announced that in July when he put the hold on it. Why hide that? Why not just say? But they didn't. And they rebuffed requests for information from OMB, from the Department of Defense, and from members of Congress. Why are you withholding the aid? Trump knew why he was withholding the aid, folks. It's very simple. And the last clip from Goldman here, and this is another count of articles of impeachment. This will be obstruction of justice. It's a short clip, but Daniel Goldman sums it up so well. Clip number 7.
When faced with the opening of an official impeachment inquiry into his conduct, President Trump launched an unprecedented campaign of obstruction of Congress, ordering executive branch agencies and government officials to defy subpoenas for documents and testimony. To date, the investigating committees have received no documents from the Trump administration pursuant to our subpoenas. Were it not for courageous public servants doing their duty and honoring their oath to this country and coming forward and testifying, the president's scheme might still be concealed today.
Thank God we have patriots. Thankfully, we have patriots who put America over Trump, who came forward. And that's also another article of impeachment. They'll be there on obstruction of justice by Donald Trump and stonewalling. Article 3 of the impeachment articles against Richard Nixon involved that very thing. Now, out of fairness, I'll play a couple of clips of Republicans here. And they're just lawyers back and forth. That's all there is. It's Daniel Goldman sitting next to Steve Castor. And at one point, the other attorney was there for the Democrats for a short time. But 95% of the time has been Castor next to Goldman sitting there. And here's Steve Castor. And these two clips to me sum up the entire defense by the Republicans. Here's clip number 8. It's a short one.
Democrats seek to impeach President Trump not because they have evidence of high crimes or misdemeanors, but because they disagree with his policies. This impeachment inquiry is not the organic outgrowth of serious misconduct. Democrats have been searching for a set of facts on which to impeach President Trump since his inauguration on January 20th, 2017.
That's like a Trump tweet read out loud. It's not based in reality. And again, this is so important. When the Republicans and the Fox Newsers say the Democrats, they first tried with the Mueller hoax, and then they're trying now. The entire Mueller investigation was a Republican-headed, Republican-run investigation. Robert Mueller is a lifelong Republican. He was appointed by Republican Rod Rosenstein, who himself was appointed by the leader of the Republican Party, Donald Trump. That entire thing was Republican-run, Republican-orchestrated, picked. We didn't have the power to pick it. It was the DOJ that picked the special prosecutor. That was all Republicans. If it were Democrat-run, I can assure you we'd have some articles of impeachment from that, but we didn't. Instead, they gave the benefit of the doubt to Donald Trump. And while Robert Mueller is a patriot, there's no doubt about it, still, when push came to shove, when he could have went either way in a report, making it very clear articles of impeachment should be here, he didn't. And I know there are new DOJ regulations that kind of limit that. And here's the last clip here, Stephen Castor, about, and this is really interesting. Listen to this. It's a short clip. But Trump has said over and over and over, my phone call on July 25th was a perfect call, perfect call. Well, Steve Castor right now actually admits 8 lines of that call were not good. 8 lines, because he brings up 8 lines twice. But they're not that bad, so you can't remove a president. So you actually have Republican counsel undermining Trump's position on national TV, and Trump's not bright enough to pick this up, I think. Here's clip number 9.
This case, in many respects, comes down to 8 lines in a call transcript. Let me say clearly and unequivocally that the answer to that question is no. The record in the Democrats' impeachment inquiry does not show that President Trump abused the power of his office or obstructed Congress. To impeach a president who 63 million people voted for over 8 lines is baloney. I don't know if he went to law school. He might be self-taught. I'm not sure, because I went to law school. We never learned the baloney defense before. But just so it's clear, we're not impeaching Donald Trump over his confession/transcript. This was a criminal conspiracy that began last summer, not this summer, last summer, when
Parnas and Fruman, Rudy's buddies, sat down with a Republican congressman at the time, Pete Sessions, and offered to raise a lot of money for him. In return, what was their ask? Help us get rid of U.S. Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch. And Pete Sessions wrote a letter to Mike Pompeo, and that began the smear campaign. That was not last summer. That's the summer before. That's when this began. It continued in January of this year. Rudy Giuliani meeting with 2 corrupt former prosecutors from the Ukraine. One, I think the second one was also former, Lyshenko and Shokin, in New York, and communicating with them and finding out stuff about Biden and Yushchenko. And then it continued with Trump, Giuliani going to the Ukraine, and Donald Trump drumbeat of requests for information about what are they doing through Gordon Sondland? Are they going to play ball? Are they going to do the investigations I want? This is not one phone call, folks. So you see the Republicans' defenses. There's not much there, but it's political. Impeachment is a constitutionally mandated procedure, but it is political. We cannot escape that. So these arguments are about politics to keep the base intact. Are we moving any Republicans over? It is unlikely. There's no new evidence coming forward. The only way to do this is to have other articles of impeachment. I would like to see the Republicans on record voting on an article of impeachment about the emoluments clause, which says that a president cannot accept anything, no emolument, no title, nothing of value from a foreign nation. Well, Trump has with his hotel. I'd like that to be a standalone. Let them vote saying, no, that's okay. You can violate the Constitution. I want to see some on obstruction. We're going to see obstruction of justice, but I'd like to see a set-aside one on his actions with Mueller that Mueller detailed. I would like to see one on Donald Trump violating campaign finance laws that Michael Cohen's in prison for at the direction of Donald Trump, and how that was fraud to get into office. That was paying hush money to 2 women not to come forward in the closing days of the campaign because it would hurt Donald Trump's campaign. Donald Trump committed fraud to get in his office. As a lawyer, I can tell you, if you gain anything by fraud, and it's shown by that, everything is rescinded. It's rescission, meaning you get nothing. Done, out. That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see, not the rescission part, I would like to see an article impeachment on campaign finance violations, because you could put 2 here. One is Donald Trump asking Zelensky for help in the campaign. Soliciting anything of value from a foreign national is a violation of our campaign finance laws. Donald Trump knowingly and willfully solicited help from a foreign individual of something of value, opposition research. There's no doubt it's opposition research is of value. It's in the Mueller report. Donald Trump knows this. So you have that, and then you add the one with Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal in that same article. Let Republicans go on record voting against all of this. Let it go around the nation. Republicans have no problem with the president violating the Constitution, violating campaign finance laws, violating our idea of the abuse of power, what a president should do in office. Let them vote on each of those articles of impeachment. And then we can use that against them for the entire 2020 campaign and make it clear to America. Here's what the Democrats stand for. We stand for transparency and accountability. We stand for putting Americans first, not ourselves first, not our reelection first, you, the American people first. And let the Republicans vote on record. They stand for Donald Trump first, America second. That's where it goes. So, look, I'd love to hear from you. We got time to the top of the hour. Take calls. You're my guest at the top of the hour. I'd love to hear what you thought. If you got a chance to read some of the Inspector General report, want to comment on that, I'm happy to. Tomorrow we'll talk about that in much more detail, I can assure you. But what do you think so far of the Democrats? Are they moving the needle in the way you want them to? If not, I know there's some frustration. What would you like to see them doing? Because that's my struggle. Like, I'd like them to be moving the needle more. I'd like to see public opinion building more towards impeachment. I'm not sure what more they can do other than add more articles of impeachment beyond the Ukraine. I think that would be very helpful. So 866-997-4748. You're my guest right at the top of the hour, right here on the Dean Obeidallah Show. Be right back.
Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.